Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Betrayal at Krondor. In our last episode, we were continuing our journey eastward towards Romney. Unfortunately, we ran into a little bit of supernatural trouble, some ghosts along the road, and a shop that was closed up because it's being haunted. It seems that Nia's Goods is unfortunately closed for now because it's being haunted by what seems to be the ghost of her father. If you see the gravestones in the distance there, it seems that her father's grave was desecrated and his hand was stolen. If we can get to the bottom of that mystery, perhaps return the hand, maybe we can put this ghost to rest. But for the time being, let's continue eastwards on our way, continuing our quest, and maybe we'll come across something along the way. As always, we're keeping our eyes open for any enemies and any, perhaps, chests or other items of interest along the road. Here's a side road. Let's see what's down here. Ah, well, here's a house and a barn. Let's see if anybody's home. The door was unlocked. James entered the small house and looked around. Judging by the simplicity of the things which decorated the interior, he guessed the house belonged to Max Feber. Now, I want to stop here for a moment because I don't believe we were told who Max Feber is in the last episode. This is one of those situations where the game assumes you've already heard of this character, and so now we recognize his house. This is odd, he said, noticing a few items which seemed a bit more expensive than a farmer might be expected to own. Alerted by the incongruity, something told him to investigate the farmer's belongings further. Oh, well, let's see. Oh, well, here's a shovel. It smelled awful. Covered with a strange green mold, the implement was rickety, its fractured length held together with an assortment of rusty nails. However it had been used recently, it had seen better times. And what is this? A burial cloth. Turning over the coarsely woven cloth in his hands, he examined the blotches of yellow mold that seemed remarkably like a human face. It was probable the linen had been a burial shroud, the face imprinted upon it as the unknown man's flesh had dissolved into moldering corruption. Well, there's a burial shroud here. I wouldn't say it's proof positive, but that's certainly good circumstantial evidence that maybe this Max Feber character was the one who desecrated that grave. Let's go ahead and take that with us. Let's look into the barn and see if there's anybody here. The bar door was locked. Sneaking around to the other side, James spied a flagstone boulder resting against the outside of the back wall. With Gorath's help, he pushed the stone to the side, revealing some broken planks and a hole just large enough for him to slip through. Stealing into the murky darkness, he inched along blindly until his foot bumped into something hard. Crouching down with a smile, he was able to make out the shape of a wooden chest and was relieved to find it unlocked. Glazier's Guild Seals. The stamp was simple, the kind generally used by nobles or priests, and it had a handle made of ivory from which depended several silk streamers. The seal itself was of 3 pots stacked one atop the other, the symbol associated with the powerful Glazier's Guild of Romney. That's interesting. Why would this farmer have guild seals? A burial cloth, he really doesn't seem to be up to any good. I'd like to see something really quickly. I want to see if I can free up any more space here in my inventory to take one of these with us. That might be something worth taking. If I could use this stone twice, it'll open up a spot in Gorath's inventory. Let's back out of here real fast. Move one of his whetstones just into a bag. And give that back to James. We'll use that one-use whetstone, finish it off. Now James has room, and we'll go ahead and give this other whetstone back to Gorath. Let's take one of these seals with us. I don't know if it will be of any use to us, but there's definitely something going on. I think whoever this Max Feber person is, he's up to some shady shenanigans. Is there anything going on in this field? James spotted a man in a field. Bent over, he appeared to be a farmer of some stripe, though his work seemed to become more industrious as they drew closer to him. Undoubtedly, he had seen them as well. Would you happen to know who lives in that house nearby? I should. I lived half me life in it. Name's Max Feber. Ah, there's Max Feber. Are you certain? Are you funny in the head, lad? Because I'm sure. How could I not be? Do you often make it a habit to go digging in graveyards? What do you mean? I mean, the three of us found a burial cloth, and we think you have something to do with all this evil that's going on around here. You've been desecrating graves, haven't you? You broke into my house! I'll tell the constable for this! If he were still living in town, I might feel threatened, but I rather imagine you've already managed to scare him off. Now talk, or I'm going to have a cozy little chat with a friend of mine named Nivik, Prince Arutha's tax collector. Nice fellow. I think the two of you will get along marvelously. One grave only I dug up. I don't remember the fellow's name now, but he used to own the Six Tone Tavern before Nia took over the shop. I thought maybe I could scare her into moving out and selling to me, but she's too darn stubborn. What did you do with the corpse? No corpse about him. He was down to his skeleton. I tried to rebury him, but I never found one of his hands. It's bound to be near the graveyard. I think I may have dropped it when I was near old Herschel's house. What else? That's it. That's all I know, honest. Dug him up, and then I reburied him. We'll need to find that hand, then, and bury it. No thanks to you. Goodbye, sir, and I would advise that you stay away from the Six Toe Tavern from now on. I doubt you will be warmly greeted. Okay, well, there's our grave robber. Let's head back to Herschel's house. Herschel, if I remember correctly, was the one running the way station. Maybe we can find that hand. Put this poor fellow's ghost to rest. I believe this was the house we're talking about. The man at the door greeted James with a strange look. What were you looking for behind my house a week or so back? James looked surprised. I have done no such thing, he said defensively. Perhaps you've mistaken me for someone else. No matter, I suppose, the man grumbled, his look lacking conviction. Escorting them to the door, he shrugged his shoulder. I got some other things to do, so if you'll excuse me, and don't be wandering around on Herschel's land again here. So someone was wandering around behind the house. And what's-his-name thought he dropped the hand around near the house. So that means someone who looks like James may have made off with that hand. Huh. Herschel scowled at them. Back again, eh? He said, slapping James on the shoulder. Now I know that something around here has you mighty interested, because I know that what I saw with my own two eyes. You've been around here before, looking for something out behind the house here. What you looking for, boy? I insist, I have not been looking for anything around here other than an answer to who this person is that you think I look like, James said, numbed that he'd actually gotten that phrase out of his mouth. Running a hand across his bald pate, the man made an indeterminate sound. Don't know, don't care. Now just leave me be, okay? Not wanting to start an argument with a stranger, James allowed for them to be escorted out the door. All right, well, we're going to have to keep our eyes out. If we can find somebody who looks like James, that might give us an answer to this question. I'd like to see if Nia has anything else she would say to us. I hope you haven't come by the tavern for a drink. Tapped out the last of my supplies this morning, and I don't know how long it'll be before the wagons come around again. No one wants to come anywhere close to Nia's goods, even though it's across the crossroad. We'll do what we can, good lady. Alright, so we're not going to be able to get anything else out of her until we can solve her haunting problem. Let's continue heading eastward. It looks like night is falling, so let's go ahead and camp for the night. And we'll continue on our way. If we look at our map, we're almost to the town of Lytton, so maybe we'll find some answers there. Once again, we're going to keep our eyes well peeled for any... There's something there off the side of the road. I don't see any enemies. But there's definitely a box and a campfire. Someone was here. This looks like a regular sort of box, so let's be on the safe side and cast Scent of Sereg. Oh no, it wasn't a chest, it was just a normal box. Well, there's definitely 47 rubies. Well, a ruby with value of 47. That's definitely worth taking. We are so full of items right now. Once again, we're going to have to drop something off. So let's put down... I think I'm going to get rid of that little shell here. They're not worth a whole lot. Maybe as we come back this way later, if we end up coming back, we can pick that up again. We really need to find a shop to sell off some of these items. Looks like there's a house over to the side there. Something had been buried under the dirt. More food. Some rations. James can take those. More lockpicks for him. And more money. Okay. Looks like there's a house over here. And a field. James never had a chance to knock. Without warning, a Quagian pirate charged at them from the other side of the small house, prepared to kill or be killed. "Look out!" screamed James, readying himself for combat. "Ambush!" 4 pirates. This could go badly. Let's spring into action. Luckily, Owen has a chance to go first before he's attacked, so let's go ahead, as always, and cast our favorite spell, Skin of the Dragon. Gorath is not close enough to any of these enemies, so he'll try shooting one of them with his quarrels. A good hit. James will continue attacking the foe that he's engaged with currently. And now Owen will cast Skin of the Dragon again on our friend Gorath. Alright, now he'll start moving in closer. James will continue attacking. Owen's going to rest to begin regaining the stamina that he spent in order to cast that spell. It really strikes me that that spell, Skin of the Dragon, is just incredibly useful and powerful. As you can see, it makes our party almost invincible in battle, as long as Owen has a chance to cast it before he's attacked by someone, before someone gets up close enough to prevent him from casting. The worst thing about this battle is that once we win it, we won't be able to loot the corpses. Our pockets are already way too full. That guy's too far away to reach, so let's try shooting him. He's probably going to be able to get away this turn. Oh, he didn't move this turn for some reason. And we finished him off. Excellent. Gorath had some incredibly good luck this battle with his crossbow, using his crossbow. I'm pretty sure that at the end of the battle, his crossbow skill may increase from using it so much. I think one of the enemies may be able to escape. We're probably not going to be able to kill him before he escapes. Yeah, James is unfortunately not able to really kill him yet. Oh, nope, he was able to get him. All 4 were killed. Gorath's accuracy in crossbows has increased. Excellent, that's really good. What is it up to now? 56%. We'll look at these bodies in a moment. What's in the house? Nope, it's just an empty house. No one has lived here in some time. What about this field? James grunted. Despite his repeated efforts to pull the scarecrow out of the ground, it wouldn't budge. And the corn is too young for consumption. Okay, well, we can always check to see if the bodies have any gold that we can take, or some more rations, even if we can't take their armor or weapons. 8 gold is certainly appreciated. Let's go ahead and repair our own weapons and armor before we do anything. I believe we've already repaired everything else we own. Gorath's armor's in good shape. Now that, let's go ahead and, we took something off the body, we can put this armor on there, give Owen's armor to Gorath, and try to repair that, make sure it's okay. Nope, it's in perfectly good shape, so we'll give back Owen the slightly better pair. We'll take the 93% armor. And that's good enough for now. That armor is actually better than what... No, James has 73% armor. Let's go ahead and give better armor to James. We'll give him the 93. And we'll take the 73. All right. We'll check our stats in a minute. Next body has some rations. They're good rations, so we'll go ahead and... whoever can carry them, we'll give them to. Just to top off our rations up to the full 14. And that's about it. I don't think we can combine this with our existing Icer that Owen's holding. No, each one's an individual item. This one has 5 uses, so it's more than what this one can hold. Only 3. The Elven armor, though, is very valuable, so let's go ahead and trade out the Kingdom armor for some of this bad Kingdom armor for this Elven armor. Well, we'll have to put the armor in a bag. And we'll go ahead and repair that armor. More Elven armor. I wonder if it might be worth taking instead of this Kingdom armor that we have. It's probably not worth the trouble, honestly. Alright, more food. Good rations, but we can't carry it. Some more crossbow bolts for Gorath. Another whetstone with only 3 uses. I don't believe we have any that are... No, it wouldn't be worth taking in exchange for any of the ones that we have. A very good larger crossbow, though. So let's get rid of Gorath's one that's only 75%, and we'll take the 91. All right, that's pretty good. So we've done what we could. We've bettered our items. We've taken better quality items than what we had. And let's continue to the east once again. A bird shot into the sky. Searching the landscape for the source of the animal's discomfort, Gorath whispered, "I think we might do well to pay attention to that little creature. Whatever startled it may be close at hand. If we continue in the direction we are currently headed, I suggest we do so with great caution." So once again, our scouting ability has alerted us to there's going to be a battle in just about a moment. I think it is possible to avoid those battles by going around them, like going behind the mountains or something, but let's go into the battle. Oh no, Nighthawks! This could go poorly. Better keep our wits about us. Unfortunately, Owen cannot cast. The enemy is too close. Owen's going to flee to this side of James. And Gorath is going to engage with this enemy to try to wound him. If we can wound him, he won't be able to move as far. Oh, he's going after Owen. We need to focus all of our attention on this enemy to allow Owen the chance to... Good, he's already fleeing. Okay. Owen's going to go ahead and cast Skin of the Dragon. This time he's going to cast it on himself, because he's the one being targeted by all these crossbows and such. I'm going to let this enemy escape. This will keep them from being able to shoot their crossbows at us. Alright, I'm going to have Owen rest, regain some of his stamina and health that he lost. Meanwhile, James and Gorath will deal with this other enemy. And he's down. James will begin moving in close. Gorath won't be able to reach us this turn, so he'll just move as close as he can. Gorath will move a little closer. And Owen will begin moving away. Gorath will move, and I believe this corners this enemy, so he can't get it at Owen anymore. I'm going to have James rest a turn. Okay, good. Excellent. I'm going to have just James rest, regain stamina, while Gorath pings him with his crossbows as best as he can. enemy will probably escape by the time... Oh no, we won. Fantastic. Let's see if they're carrying anything interesting. More rations that we can't carry. And armor and weapons that we can't carry. What about the other one? Well, we've got some good money. That's well worth taking. And a torch. We can add that to our existing torches. We'll replace some of Gorath's crossbows that he used. Let's go ahead and restore our weapons and armor, because we did take some damage on that battle. And let's move this over real quick. We'll move Owen's armor over to repair it. Only up to 91, so we'll give him the 92, which is a little bit better. And we're going to trade that out for this elven armor. There we are. All right. Let's continue on our way. Our abilities have increased. James's weapon craft has gone up, and his armor craft. And Owen and Gorath's weapon craft. All right, so the assassination attempts here are getting a little bit more hairy. We're running into Nighthawks, not just Mordell. A well-armed band of men approached. "You shall not pass this way unless you pay a road tax," yelled one of the men. James put a hand on his sword. "Under whose authority do you make these demands?" he shouted back. "Lord Lytton. Now either turn back or pay us a tax of 25 gold sovereigns. Which will it be?" Well, let's leave for now. James stared at the tax collectors. Turning to Gorath, he said quietly, "A battle against these men will be foolish. We should turn back and find another way around this mess." All right, so let's back off a little bit. I think I'm up against... There we go. It looks like night's falling, so let's take a moment to rest and heal from our wounds anyway. I'd like to use the herbal pack that we have. I don't believe it. Yeah, Gorath has one as well. James will just have to do without. Everyone's very well healed except for James, and that's fine. I believe we're right up against the town of Lytton here. Yeah. Alright, they're blocking the way, but if we head down, maybe we can go around them. Maybe avoid this toll. Huh. Nope, looks like we're getting into a battle after all. Alright, this is quite a few enemies, so let's hope for the best. Okay, luckily, Owen has a chance to cast before anything else happens. So let's do our usual trick. Skin of the dragon. And Gorath will harry this enemy who's trying to attack Owen. Well, he hit his own man there, so that's good. How dare you, sir? You'll pay for that. This guy just keeps defending himself every turn. Oh, these enemies have quite a few hit points to them. And he is doing a lot of damage to Owen, but now Owen should be free and clear. Alright. And the second enemy died because he got hit by crossbow bolts so many times. Alright, Owen should be free to get out of the way, but look at his hit points. He's in really bad shape. Fortunately, everyone's been mainly attacking James this time. I'm going to go ahead and have Owen rest one turn. Ooh, that was a bad hit. I'm going to have James begin harrying this guy so he stops shooting crossbows at us. This way Owen can rest and heal up somewhat. Alright, that spell just wore off, so James is now vulnerable. Okay, one of those enemies is down again. James is also not in particularly good shape, honestly. He's alright. He still has... He's not down to... You know, his stamina's not down to 0 yet. The battle was won. I don't know about you, but there was a point there where I wasn't certain which way this was going to go, James said to Gorath, wiping perspiration from his brow. Let's get moving. That was a tough battle, but luckily, casting that on James and the fact that the enemy focused so much on him saved our hides. Now notice there's no bodies here. Those were those guards. So let's head on into the town of Lytton and try to get to the bottom of this nonsense. The place is abandoned, Gorath said, looking around the room. Maybe the occupants left something behind we could use. Let's have a look. Well, a whetstone. Let's use up the whetstones that we have, of course. James's armor's way down. We're going to have to switch that out for something, for a better piece of armor. He took quite a few hits during that battle. All right, just let's see if we can. I think the house is still full. Yeah. If we could find a shop. There looks like a store. Maybe this is a place we can sell armor. Nope, just another abandoned place with money. Alright, let's just begin with the first building here, and we'll make our way through the town and see what we can find. The man at the door flew into a rage. "You!" he shouted, pointing at James. "That hand you sold me was totally worthless. It wasn't a glory hand at all." James took a step back. "I'm afraid you've mistaken me for someone else. I really have no idea what you're talking about. But you say something about a hand. We'll buy it back from you." "I tossed that worthless thing into the dried-up well at Lytton. 150 sovereigns. That's how much I paid for it. You telling me you'll give me my money back if I retrieve it for you?" Okay, looks like I think I may have put this together. Max stole the hand, but then he panicked and dropped it behind the house. Whoever this man is who looks like James got the hand and sold it to this other guy for 150 gold. And this guy, apparently the hand was worthless for whatever he wanted to use it for. He wanted a glory hand. And apparently it wasn't a glory hand, and so he tossed it in the well. We're going to have to find this person that looks like James and figure out exactly what's going on. But in the meantime, let's get that hand back. James nodded. The man looked at them suspiciously, threatened to have them strung up if they weren't around when he returned, and then left. Several hours later, he returned with a small burlap bag. Placing it on the table with a thunk, he turned to James. "Here's your hand. Now give me back my gold." "I didn't take your gold, so let's call this a sale, shall we?" said James. "Call it whatever you like. Where's my bloody money?" the man bellowed. James retrieved the money from his pouch and dropped it on the table. The man scooped it up greedily and demanded they stay until he had a chance to count it all. Alright, so now we have to figure out what we're going to drop off in exchange for this dead person's hand. Well, let's use up these restoratives to heal Owen up. Okay, maybe we can give the rest of the restoratives to James. There we go. Now, Owen can hold the creepy dead hand. Congratulations, Owen. You are now the owner of a creepy hand. Here's a tavern we can visit. Men were laughing. "That sounds like quite a funny story," James said. "Would you care to repeat it?" The man looked about nervously. No, I... "Please," said James with as warm a smile as he could muster, understanding why the man might be nervous. "Well, okay, I was just telling the fellas about old Glover. Paid 300 sovereigns for a dead man's hand. Thought it was a glory hand or something like that. Figured he could sell it for big money, I guess." James thanked the man for his information and his time. Oh, because that would have led us to Glover if we had talked to these people beforehand. I guess that's the man who we found was Glover. This is one we've already heard many times in every tavern. We have no need to talk to the barmaid because we have food. James asked for company. Smiling at them, the man eagerly accepted the offer of fellowship and told a number of tales about his works for Lord Lytton. Unsure what in the man's manner inspired his trust, James responded likewise by telling him a few of the details of their trip to Romney, though omitting the specifics about Gorath's part in things. "Ah, oui, I don't envy you that," the man said, waving his hands. "I'd not be heading anywhere near the river, not for no amount of silver, not me." "Why is that?" James asked. "Awful troubles there. The Guild of Romney and the River Pullers Guild are as good as at war. If you ask me, some bloke down in Sildon way is trying to stir up things. I've heard he's even got a few sneaks what are posing as members of other guilds, even carrying forged guild seals. Saw a group of them with Max Feber, that greedy bastard out west of here." "Oh, that explains the guild seals we found in that thieves' barn. Ah." When the man excused himself to go answer nature's call, James pondered for a moment the things he had learned. While it seemed wildly improbable that the events that were going on around them were somehow connected, he had seen the plots of Myrmidamus previous to the last uprising, and those circumstances had left him jaded. It made him none more comfortable that he was now escorting a former ally of that Mordhell monster. Yeah, there's a lot of shady goings on. Some of them may be tied to each other. The man accepted their company. Owen chatted idly with the rough-looking fellow as Gorath looked on, making certain that in his ebullient mood the magician didn't slip and give away the true purpose of their travels. "So, where are you headed?" the man asked, describing a large arc with his ale cup. "Any place interesting?" Actually, we're not headed in any specific direction," Gorath intervened. "We're wandering, looking for an employer, treasure to watch, caravan to guard." The man snickered. "Or a caravan to steal from, eh? Freebooters, then. Well, there's not much going on in the kingdom these days, not in the west. The prince has seen to it his roads are safe and his vassals happy. For the likes of us, he's taken all the fun out of life." James nodded. "You're not the first one to say so." That's a reference to, in the books, a character has said on multiple occasions of Prince Ruther that he takes all the fun out of life. Let's try our hand at barding. Nope, we're kicked out of the bar. Party's abilities have increased. Let's go ahead and rest until morning. And we'll continue our exploration of the town. James knocked, and almost immediately then there was the sound of frantic movement inside the house. Then silence. He knocked again. Nothing. "Hello?" Silence. "Is anybody there? We're weary travelers and seek only a moment of your time and perhaps a drink of water." James waited patiently for a moment, then said sternly, "Look, we know you're in there. We heard you moving about." Finally, with the door still closed, a man replied weakly, "We know who you really are. We will have the rest of the taxes as soon as we get the money." No amount of arguing or explaining could convince the man of the truth. The door remained closed. Somebody's afraid of the tax collectors. The door opened with a creak. "Good day," said a lady of about 25. "What brings you kind gentlemen to Lytton?" James glanced at Owen, then replied matter-of-factly, "Just passing through. Could we trouble you for something to drink, perhaps?" "You'll find a well beside the road, near the center of town," she said. Realizing that she was probably a bit leery about talking to strange men, James thanked her for the information and said goodbye. All right, let's continue on our way. James looked around the small barn. Judging by the variety of livestock, he guessed it was the community property, perhaps owned by the citizens of Lytton. He poked around for a few minutes, then said, "Nothing of much interest here. Let's move on." There's the well that the hand was dropped into. Drawing some water from the small well, they drank greedily. Then, stopping only long enough to fill their pouches, they packed up and prepared to leave. Gorath was about to knock on the front door when he heard a strange roaring sound coming from inside the house. It lasted for several seconds, stopped, then it began again. "What in the name of Ishap?" Gorath stood with his ear cocked to the door. Suddenly realization dawned, and with a smile he turned to leave. Owen gave him a puzzled look. "We're leaving? It sounds like a wild beast in there. Perhaps we could see if there's anyone inside in need of our assistance." "I'm afraid even if you were a master magician like Pug, you couldn't cure a snore like that. Come on, let's allow him to sleep." Someone's fast asleep in that house. James pushed open the door of the wooden barn. Inside he found stalls containing a standard mixture of animals. The floor of the barn was covered with a pungent mixture of hay, dust, and animal dung that made his eyes water. He was glad when they left a few minutes later. All right, and finally this house. An abandoned house with a whetstone that we can't really take because we don't have room for it. All right, let's take a moment, just double check our map, make sure there's nothing we missed. All right, let's head back to the main road. And what's this house over here to the north? Oh, nope, that's not what I'm trying to do. A servant met them at the door. She ushered them inside and led them to a partitioned corner of the room. Pulling back the curtain, she revealed a gangly man with a white beard and snow-gray hair who introduced himself as Lord Lytton. "Please forgive my humble accommodations," he sighed. "My financial situation has been compromised by the death of my lord, Earl Presser of Romney." Suddenly he brightened. "Perhaps you fine gentlemen would be willing to assist me in a small matter." "What could we do to help you?" asked James. The lord sighed again. "I was to equip 6 knights and send them to Romney for my former lord, but his holdings were bestowed upon his half-brother following his death, and he wishes me to deliver 12 fully equipped knights to Malek's Cross. If you could bring me 6 suits of kingdom armor in good condition, I would be able to get rid of these annoying tax collectors who've been traveling the roads, terrorizing people and extorting money. I wouldn't actually expect that you'd have that sort of thing with you. You don't, do you?" James made a face. "It isn't exactly the sort of thing we'd carry about with us as a rule." "Of course not," Lytton replied, showing them to the door. "But please, see what you can do." All right, so if we can get enough suits of kingdom armor, which right now we have 1, 2, we only have 2 of them, we could theoretically get rid of those people who are extorting money over here. I'd like to go ahead and head back to the town we were at, over towards Sethanon, to try to deliver that hand. So let's see if we can go around. Give me just a brief moment here. Yeah, let's go ahead and head out of the town this direction, through the fields here. And then maybe we can... Here's another house and another well. Let's see what this is. Standing in front of the intricately carved door, Owen stepped forward. "These are magic symbols," said the magician, "carved no doubt by magic means." "Nope, just a regular hunting knife." The figure of a small elderly man followed the disembodied voice around the edge of the house. "I was out back, tending to some chores. You're right about the symbols being magic, though. Carved them there myself. Name's Flar Wiggin." Thrilled to be in the presence of another magician, Owen smiled and said, "It would have been easier to do it magically, Flar. I suspect you're right about that, but I'm not a magician. No, it was my brother who had the gift. Died a couple years back." The old man stared solemnly at the door for a moment. Then, suddenly cheerful, said, "Left behind a magic well, his legacy. It's guarded by a pretty nasty spell. Give you a gold jolt unless I turn it off. You head on over to the well and I'll give you a drink. It'll fix you right up and set you back only 25 sovereigns. We'll think about it. I just want to take a look at my map and see where we are. So this is the road that heads south and goes to some of these other towns that we didn't get to visit. And we might go that way in a little while. But I'd really like to head back and deliver that hand that of Nia's father. So let's follow in this direction and try to avoid the road until we can get clear of where those men were. There we go. Now we should be able to rest for the night. And we'll head back towards the town. It should be a fairly straight shot without any enemies to deal with. All right, here we are. We made it. So let's go ahead and rebury that hand. We have to find the correct grave, of course. There we are. Jared Lycro. Owned a shop and tavern, never wanted for more. The tip of Gorath's shovel made a wooden clunk. Using his hands to push away the soft, unpacked earth, he wiped perspiration from his forehead with the back of his sleeve and stepped out of the hole he had just created. He motioned for someone to bring him the hand as he carefully pried open the pine lid of the decaying box. Then, without looking inside, he dropped the hand and quickly closed the lid, part of it crumbling in his fingers. Rest in peace. Rest in peace now, Jared, whispered Owen. Come on, let's fill in the grave and get out of here. Hopefully that will put the poor man to rest. I don't know how you've done it, but bless you. I've not heard a knock or a bump coming from my shop for hours. First time in weeks. After I do a little dusting, I should be able to reopen it for business. And seeing that you've held up your end of the bargain, I'll hold up mine. As requested, you can have the gallon grief maker I told you about. Thank you again, and please come by the shop across the street any time. I promise I'll give you the best bargains you'll find. Thank you, fine lady. It was our pleasure to serve you. All right, so we solved the mystery of the haunted shop. And we received what was called something called a gallon grief maker. Let's take a look. Oh my. Holding up the double-edged basket-hilted sword for inspection, Owen favored it with a nod. The numerous sharp teeth that bristled along the edge of the weapon guaranteed a deep cut if the blade was swung properly. Let's compare that for just a moment to a kingdom sword. Let's drop one of them off just into a bag. We're going to hand this off to James. So a normal kingdom sword has stats of it's only based on your strength, it's base damage, with a 10 accuracy in your thrust. The Grief Maker, on the other hand, starts off with a 29 damage base and a 15 accuracy. Way better, and its swing is also 42 strength. I mean, this thing is a really good blade. Even with the holy modification on this blade, I think that's going to be a much better blade for James to use. We'll go ahead and give this other random kingdom sword to Owen to hold. So James has a nice, good, fantastic weapon that he can now take into battle. All right, let's look at the shop. James waited by the door. Less than a minute later, Nia hurried over from the sixth toe with a large set of keys jangling on a brass ring in her hand. I'll have that door open for you in a jiffy, she said, as she began to search for the proper key. Ah, here we go. She inserted the key into the lock, jiggled it for a few times until it clicked, then she pushed open the door. Nia's goods. Let's see if we can finally sell off some of these goods that we've collected along the way, like this elven armor. Wonderful. 45 sovereigns each. That's well worth having. I'm not going to sell this armor just yet, though. Okay, no, this did not need to be repaired after all. Good. All right, let's drop off some of these extra swords that we don't need. And this broadsword that I was hanging on to, thinking it might come in handy, no. We got a good sword for James. He's got all the sword he needs. All right, what about this ruby? 186 gold. That's wonderful. What about this random seal? No, she doesn't have any use for that seal. All right, let's rearrange our items for just a minute. Let's hand off some of these healing items to Owen. At least two of them. And like I said, I want to hang on to this extra set of Kingdom Armor for just a little bit. We can buy Kingdom Armor for 45 gold, but we could also, well, we can get it from enemies. If we head down that southernmost passage, that southern road towards those other towns, I think we'll probably find more enemies waiting to ambush us. And maybe we can get those 6 sets of armor that that Lord wants to have. In the meantime, let's take a look and see what's in this shop, if there's anything else worth getting. Well, we can get a couple rations for not too much gold. We don't need them just yet, but they're here when we need them next time. Fantastic. We solved the mystery of the haunted shop, and we were finally able to get rid of a lot of that extra baggage that we've been carrying for so long. Let's hand this armor off to James. It's a little bit better shape than what he's currently carrying. Good. We got it up to 80%. That's much better. All right, and if we look at our map, after we look at our stats real quick, yeah, he's doing much better than before. His barding increased even though we failed at that last barding attempt. I don't know why I had that set to be on. Let's take a look at our map, though, real fast. Yeah. So we made it all the way to the town of Lytton, and if we follow that other road to the south, if we avoid those enemies that'll probably be back, and head south, we can go to Malek's Cross and Darkmoor, and along the way we might find more enemies. If we can collect 6 sets of kingdom armor, we can give them to the Lord of Lytton and get rid of all the tax collectors on the road. And that'd be a pretty good thing to do. And I think that's going to be our next job. We'll take a brief break and we'll get to Romney later. First, let's deal with the issue of those tax collectors. In our next episode, we're hunting for 6 sets of kingdom armor. Either buying it or taking off people's dead bodies. Whichever comes first. I'll see you then.